Hello, on this cold and frosty, crispy morning. I'm Stuart Dorby and I'm the energy correspondent for Mirador Television. I'm also the editor and publisher of greenbarrow.com, a website which is our main aim is to actually encourage investment in renewable energy companies. So this morning I would like to entwine both my interests and so go through the whole history of the energy crisis and how we got to this sorry state we're now in. So to begin with, there was an energy crisis in 1974 when the miners' strike had meant that there were tremendous shortages of fuel, i.e. coal. And I can remember as a child where we were heating the soup by candlelight, well, not quite sure, but heating the soup by candlelight, and there was closed. Edward Heath, the Prime Minister, started a 3-day week and locked down lots of businesses. After this, it became apparent that there wasn't just coal available, but that there was amazing amounts of gas off the north coast in the North Sea. So gas became the flavour of the month, so to speak. And as time went on, in the early 80s, I think it was the Conservative government then, they actually privatised the energy companies. And that was the beginning, was the seeds of the disaster that eventually happened, because what it meant was that an oligopolistic cartel of 6 big companies, I'll tell you what they are actually, well, were rather, British Gas, E.ON, EDF, Scottish Power and SSE, I think that's 6. And they were setting prices just how and when, where they liked it. And that became a really important political issue. And Ed Miliband, who was leader of the Labour Party in the early 20s, in fact in 2012, he said, if Labour gets into power, I will bring in an energy cap. Well, he didn't get into power, David Cameron did. But David Cameron, as Prime Minister, was spooked by the idea of an energy company cap, and he asked his Competition and Mergers Authority what he should do. And they, to their absolutely eternal damnation, said, we must get people to switch to cheaper suppliers. But there were that many cheaper suppliers, and ones that were around were chancers and villains and whatever. But eventually, it turned out there were about 70 companies that were offering cheaper prices than the cartel. But they hadn't taken account of the spike in gas prices, because the gas prices exposed everything that the companies that had been switched to couldn't pay the grade. They haven't hedged against their prices. They weren't capitalised enough, and when it came to it, they couldn't actually bring in the deals that they had proposed, and they went bust. And then the government didn't have a clue what they were going to do about this. These energy companies had gone bust, people were losing money, and then the big cartel, it was the 5 companies then, were making a fortune, and it was an absolute chaos. And well, Mrs. May took over from David Cameron, and she brought in an energy cap in 2018, I think, or it might have been 2019. I think it was 2018. And that meant that the big companies were making a lot of money, whereas the rest of us were getting poorer. And then scroll forward to September last year, having written about and interviewed many of the key players in the energy crisis, I told all my friends and neighbours that they must expect a huge rise in their energy bill in October 21. And in fact, in 2021, the Ofgem sets the price, the energy cap, twice a year. on April 1 and October 1. In April 1, they had increased it by 10%. In October 1, they increased it by 12%. That's a 22% rise in energy prices, which filters through to home bills, energy bills. And that's where we're coming to. But the tariff at the end of, for a 3-bedroom house at the end of 21 was 1,277, I think. And as it went on, people like Martin Lewis, the personal finance advisor and pricing expert, energy expert, said that you can bet your life in April 2022 there's going to be a huge spike, possibly of 54%. That means another £700 on domestic bills, and making the whole thing 2,000 quid. Well, that a lot of people can't afford 2,000 quid. So what you've got and you're getting is fuel poverty. But that wasn't the end of it, because as the thing spiked on, Lewis opined that it might need to go up again and again. You've already got a bill of 2,000, and the reason was that the global supply. There was a problem of global supply. There was a shortage, and therefore we are facing a real problem. Now, when it came to finding out what the government should do about it, resolve it, they seemed absolutely nonplussed. They didn't have a clue what to do. First of all, they said they were abolish the VAT. That's 5%, that's 100 quid. Then they said the next thing they will get rid of green levies, which is a levy which is to actually encourage renewable energy. And that's about 5%, that's 200 quid. And they would do something about the warm house discount. This is a scheme whereby the poor and the vulnerable can get a reduction of £140 in their tax bill. There are currently 2.7 million homes that are on that system. Well, that could be expended, but it hasn't been extended, and then nothing has been done about the green levies and the VAT levies. So after all this, the government came up with an overriding scheme of a contract for difference. Many people don't know what a contract for difference means. It's done terribly well for the renewable energy. It works like this: that the two parties involved, the government and the big companies, agree on a price which should be obeyed, which would be an energy cap price. Okay? And if the price should go above the agreed price, then the government has to pay the difference. If it goes beneath the agreed price, the companies have to pay the difference. And not only have they not implemented their earlier schemes like VAT and so, but they haven't done a thing about the contract for difference. Then, just to cap it all, excuse the pun, that Rishi Sunak recently, last week I think, or maybe this week, said that he's going to give a £90 discount from the what's it tax? The council tax. Okay, great. Yeah, £90. Let's not get anybody very far. And then he's going to actually, on the next bills, the October billing, he's going to give £200 off their bills, off people's bills. But people are going to have to pay that £200 over time. So I reckon that if that's what's going to happen, this is like a question of Peter robbing Paul, and Paul being slightly worse off than anybody else. Or just to mix my metaphors, perhaps it's a case of someone throwing a plaster to fix a broken leg. It is just still chaos, and it's just unacceptable. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.